What's up, everybody? It's Jeremy with Fireplace Friday here at Fluesbrothers World Headquarters. What's going on today? Well, it's Friday, and Fridays are good. Sometimes we get way caught up, and we're looking at some warmer weather next week. It's that time of year where we get a lot of cold air complaints. I think we might have went over that last week, but we're going to touch on that again today. But I wanted to show you one thing that we do when we have a little bit of downtime. Before we send, we keep gas fireplaces in stock, direct vent inserts and stuff. This is Tyler right here. You've seen him before. But what is Tyler doing? Tyler's going through and not only doing some checks, but he's also making sure that everything's prepped and good to go, because these units will get sold and go out the door. And here we actually test all the units, and we also have them in burning area. So if you decide you want one, you come in and you can see them burn and everything else. But we also use this area for testing. We also use it as we're testing for burn off, because when you put something new in your house, it puts off a little bit of a haze, burning off the oils and setting the paint and everything. So this is a good benefit that many places don't do, including fireplace shops. They don't burn the unit off or check it before they bring it out, and then sometimes there might be problems, and people go, man, I spent all this money on this fireplace, and it's having a problem within a couple days of you putting it in. Well, here's the reality of what happens. When they get shipped to us, you see all those boxes and everything. They come on pallets, and as they're being shipped, they might make their way all the way from Canada, the other side of the United States, or whatever. I don't think a lot of people realize what has to happen, all the motions and everything, to get some of these products to Home Depot, small businesses, grocery stores, things like that. But there's a lot of hands that are put on it, and a lot of forklifts and stuff like that. So as it gets jostled around and moved and everything, things can get a little loose, things can get a little jostled or whatever. It's just normal. So that's why if you ever bought anything from a big box store or something, and you get it home and maybe it's broke or something in the box or whatever, that's typically what happened. That big box store, an employee didn't kick it around or throw it around. No one, dropped your item or whatever en route. It's usually because there's just some, it might have gotten jostled around or something during shipping or whatever. So we like to try to check all those units before we bring them out to the house to avoid any frustrations or headaches or something like that. Just another little service that we do here to keep us a little bit higher than a lot of people. So I always challenge all those other companies out there, competition, other chimney companies across the United States. Check your stuff before you leave the shop so you can make sure everything's working for the customer and in good shape. Let's see here. What else we're going to talk about? We were going to talk about cold air. Just heard a phone call come in. One of the girls dealt with it, and they're getting a lot of cold air. We only get cold air calls in Kansas. Typically, the vast majority of them come in January. Why? Because January is extremely cold. And what does cold air do? Cold air drops. It drops. It falls. So when you don't feel this cold air most of the year, and then all of a sudden you're feeling a lot, it's always happening. Your air temperature is a little bit more palatable, and people like to curl up, on the couch by the fireplace or whatever, even if they're not using it, and watch TV or something. This time of year, we all pack on a few pounds, and we all are a little lazier in the evenings and stuff like that, because we've been dealing with this cold weather all day long. And then we get home and we're like, okay, I'm ready to ball up and stay warm and maybe snuggle up with the kids or the wife or the husband or whoever you got in your life, right? And so that's when we start feeling, okay, I think I feel cold air coming from this or that. So yeah, Mother Nature is allowing that cold air to drop down through there. But why is it dropping down through there, and what can we do about it? Well, we're going to talk about one little aspect, but let's talk about what's really happening. People always call chimney sweeps about this, and that's great. It's one of our services that we offer is dealing with cold air entry issues with your fireplace. Some fireplaces are air cooled, and unfortunately, there's always going to be some cold air dropping around it, because that air is a great insulator. With a lot of your masonry or stone fireplaces, what have you, there's little things you can do to help the problem. but the actual problem is your house. And we show people this all the time. It's a real simple test that you can do. You put a hi, buddy. See, I got a friend here. That's Kenai. Came up to say hi. So what you do is, if you want to test this at home, it's a real simple test. I mean, we have devices and there's fancy doodads and stuff, but it's a real simple visual test for people that go, look, it's coming from the fireplace. It's got to be the fireplace. It's actually not. It's actually a function of the house. So what you do is you open your damper, and you're going to feel a bunch of cold air coming down, right? You put a tarp or plastic over the fireplace, and it'll be blowing out over the fireplace opening. It'll be blowing out. Go to the nearest window or door that's nearest that fireplace and start to open. Let's say it's a window. Start to open that window. You're going to see a magic thing happen. The tarp will start sucking into the fireplace, because what that fireplace is doing is that fireplaces are big holes in your house, big holes in the roof. And the bigger the fireplace is, the bigger the flue is, the more air you're going to get coming through there. So basically, it's kind of like having an air conditioning. You're increasing the BTUs of that air coming in. The bigger the fireplace, bigger the flue, etc. And even if you have a damper, the damper helps. But throat dampers are a metal-to-metal connection, and they're also original to the house and original to the fireplace. I mean, we see fireplaces 80 to 100 years old. The house is really old and everything, and I'm always surprised that people are shocked that their damper it doesn't work right anymore, it hasn't kept up with the times or whatever. It's 100 years old, 80 years old. How long should stuff last? So we can improve that by putting a damper at the top. But essentially, going back to why is that plastic sucking in and then blowing out when we shut that window, is because we've changed the air source. Your house needs more air, and it'll find it. It'll find it. When I always laugh this time of year, we see all those, plastic that you put over your windows because you feel a little bit of air coming through, or little door sweeps that keep the air from coming in there. Well, that's great to use those, but you aren't solving the problem. You're just solving that general area. The problem is your house is too tight. Your house is probably a little too energy efficient, and everything needs to exchange air. You actually, if you have asthma problems or any of that stuff, air quality issues in your house is typically because obviously the air that's being made up and coming in is getting sucked down your chimney, and that's catching all the soot and all the nasty stuff. That's not good to breathe. So let's correct the actual problem, which is the house needs more air. Now, how can we go about getting more air into the house? Well, heating and cooling has this neat thing called a heat recovery ventilator that will exchange the air in your house and brings in enough. You can turn it up if you need more, turn it down. We run into those a lot in larger houses where they have multiple heating and cooling systems, because all those heating and cooling systems and your clothes dryer and your vent hoods over your kitchen and what they call exhaust fans, let's call it that instead of what they usually call it, in bathrooms, things like that. When you turn those on, they're evacuating the air out of that space to the outside, because you're either trying to get rid of smoke or smells or whatever that is. But when you do that and your house doesn't have a makeup air source to make up that air that's going out of your house at that time, it's going to find the air from other sources that you don't want it to, which is the air coming around the windows, the air coming around this. But the house is actually sucking that air in, and it will find a way. And the problem is, if you keep on blocking all those areas, it's kind of like Bugs Bunny. When Bugs Bunny was in the submarine in the cartoons, and it sprang a leak here, and he put his finger there. And then it would spring a leak over there, and he put his toe over there. Same concept. So we want to make sure that it's not drawing, once we seal that up, or you seal up that, whatever with a door sweep or plastic or whatever, that where is that air source coming from now? And we want it to come from the right areas instead of the wrong areas. And unfortunately, air always takes the path of least resistance, and one of the areas that you don't want it coming in is the fireplace. So that's why you call the chimney sweep. And the chimney sweep will run diagnostics, and they'll check things out, and they'll tell you what the condition of your system is, and then they'll give you some ideas on steps to try to start alleviating that. Because it can get pretty expensive to, try to balance the air in your house. And some people aren't interested in doing all that. They just want, some fixes in the interim. And it always starts with at the top. How about if we replace the damper with a damper that opens and closes at the top, so it seals off the top, kind of like a mason's jar does, instead of at the bottom where all that cold air's rushing through and then it's going through this 80-year-old damper that's a metal to metal connection and does not have a very good seal. Our top dampers do, so that maybe that'll alleviate it to where you're more comfortable in your home. But if you want to totally solve the issue, you got to get down to the nitty gritty and why is it happening. It's the same approach we take to water leaks. Water's crazy. I've seen where it's the most obvious thing and we fix that obvious thing, and the next rainstorm we get a call and the customer goes, okay, it's still leaking, but not as much as it was before. Well, come to find out, it was leaking from multiple sources. We got the big one, but it's still got a few other little sources. And that's what I found, that that's why water, in order to solve a lot of problems in, chimneys, life, everything, we're not just replacing a part on some electronic. We're going with natural flows, and we're going with how customers use their fireplace and a lot of other factors. So it's always a process of elimination. Also, it's hard to solve some issues. That's why it's so important that as chimney sweeps, we interview the customer based on situations, and we might do something, but if it's still a problem, we're boiling it down to, and we're eliminating those factors. And because one thing that could happen sometimes is maybe it only happens on certain days out of certain, winds out of a certain direction or whatever. And that tells my technician mind, okay, these are things we need to suggest to get where we need to be, and keep it cost efficient and for the customer and everything. But we need to let the customer know, here's everything that could be happening. Let's start here. Because I wish we could just go, yep, we're gonna this fix will 100% solve your problem and throw some money at it and makes it go away. We all know that that's not always a fact in life. We've all thrown money at things trying to make it go away, and just to find that it helped, but it didn't eliminate. So we need to make a decision. Are we looking to approach this scientifically, or we let's just go the full boat? Here's everything that could be causing that problem, full boated in. And then after that, if anything's still happening, which we've had that happen with water problems, and we do all the chimney work. That's what we do, chimney work. And then a couple months later, they go, I think I might have some water still. And we go out and we do a water test because they did all the work, so we don't need to attack other areas of the chimney. Everything's great. We'll check our work. We don't charge anything to go back out since they did all the stuff we suggested. And we do a very heavy water test at that point. I'm getting into water, but same thing goes for cold air. We do a very heavy test, and we pinpoint it, and 90% of the time we find some sort of a roofing flaw or something outside of the chimney, which is outside of the realm that was being focused on, because that's where the leak was coming from at that point. I wish we could check every aspect of the house, but we go after what we find most commonly. It's those oddball chances that are like less than 2% that happen. It only happens maybe a couple times a year where that gets looked at outside. But we don't have any time where we haven't been able to find and help. But so what I'm getting at is you might have to drag in another trade, because you don't want chimney sweeps re-roofing your house, doing little repairs that we're familiar with, like flashings and the roofing around that and everything. We're extremely good at, but no company can be experts at everything. Even handymen and stuff like that. They know a little bit about it, a little bit about everything, but you really need specialists when it comes to replacing your entire roof or anything. And a lot of people still have warranties on their roof and stuff, and maybe the roofer, a lot of times what happens is they get a leak, and the roofer goes, it's not the roof, it's the chimney. We go out and we go, yeah, okay, let's fix all this. We fix it, and then the customer's calling, and like I said, the 2%, very rare, calling, and then we go out and we do that and go, well, found a leak over here on the roof as well, which isn't the chimney, obviously, but we want to help people, right? So if we notice stuff in people's houses, kind of like, here's a good story. So several weeks ago, one of our techs was out and we checked the gas right at the immediate fireplace, and he found that the gas was off. So in order to find out what's going on with it, he turned it on and he checked the gas from that shutoff to the fireplace, which is where we stick. We're fireplace guys. We're not plumbers, so we aren't checking your entire gas in all your house. But after the tech did it, he didn't find any leaks around this little area, but he could smell gas. And he told the customer, look, we only checked the immediate area around the fireplace because we're the chimney guys. I did go above and beyond and tried to check a little bit because I smell gas, and I couldn't find anything. You might want to call the gas company and see if they find something. And they did. And the gentleman had a gas leak at the other end of his house in an uncapped fitting, very, very dangerous. No one saw it, so obviously it was pretty hidden because he had just bought the house about a year ago. Home inspector missed it, but did he miss it or was it hidden? It was hidden. So luckily the gas company was able to find it, and then they called a plumber to dig it out of the wall and cap it. But thank God our technician had noticed that, or they would have had some major problems, because what if someone else didn't smell that? What if the homeowner didn't know what a gas leak smelled like? There's a lot of what ifs. So so I don't mind when my guys, go outside of the trade, but you do need, we can't be, professionals or not professionals. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little tied up. We can't be experts on every single thing in the house, but if we notice something that looks a little funny, I want my guys to communicate that. Like if we get up on the roof and the roof's kind of, got some bad shingles or whatever, we're not gonna quote to fix your roof. We're not roofers, but we're going to point it out to you so you can take care of it so you don't have bigger problems. And that's what good technicians do. Stay within your lane. You don't want the guy that works at Quick Trip all day and manages a Quick Trip doing your personal taxes. You should probably get an accountant for that. And that's why the world, it has experts and professionals, and nobody can be an expert and professional at everything. I might know a little bit about everything, but there's just too much information and data, and you're going to get a better result if you use an expert on certain things. Anyway, so there we go. There's your tips for the day. Hopefully you got something out of it, just sitting here listening to me talk. Have a great day and a great weekend, and enjoy that warm weather that's right around the corner. And go Chiefs. Thanks.